Welcome to another episode of RELICS Radio. This is a family-friendly show, so the entire family can join us as we talk metal detecting, relic, and treasure hunting. You can also call into the show at 270-495-0315 or join in the chat and post any comments or questions you might have. RELICS Radio is also now syndicated on the Cutting Edge Radio Network and is broadcast around the world. You're listening to RELICS Radio of Southern Kentucky and Middle Tennessee. And you are listening to RELICS Radio. We want to welcome all of our live listeners tonight on the Spreaker app. We also want to welcome all of our syndicated listeners on the Cutting Edge Radio Network. And we want to welcome all of you that won't be able to catch the show live, but you'll be catching the archive either on Spreaker or on iHeartRadio, on iTunes, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that they carry podcasts. We are there because we are the world-famous RELICS Radio. And I'm joined tonight by my good friend and my co-host, Mr. Tennessee Jeff. What's going on, Jeff?
Not much, buddy. Trying to beat this heat. It's kind of hard to do.
It is. First Thursday that it hadn't stormed, though. I've still got the generator sitting outside. I was all ready for it, but we had a few clouds and things pass around us and a little bit of rain showers around us, but no storms today. That's unusual for Thursday because just about every Thursday for the last 5 or 6, I think, it's done that.
I think maybe more than that. I know, and a lot of these storms are not little small thunderstorms. These are some pretty big, heavy wind carriers, and it'll knock trees down and everything else most of the time. So, but we've been lucky today. So. Yeah,
and I'm still trying to clean up from that big one that hit here. And the sap was in the trees that blowed down, and I'm having trouble to get a good fire started. I use 5 gallons of gas and still can't get all the wood started. It burned all the dry leaves and things, but that's about it. Hey, guys, we have got another giveaway, don't we, Jeff?
We sure do. I can't wait to give it away either, and somebody's going to be very happy when they get it. I
tell you what, we were talking before we went on the air. I would love to have one of these, and it is a pulse dive, courtesy of Nocta Micro, supplying us with another fine giveaway. And by the way, guys, we're going to give that away August the 1st, and you need to go to the RELICS Radio Facebook group page. I have pinned the contest right at the top of the page so you can't miss it. We want you to go in there and make a 3-word comment. When you do that, I'm going to give you a number, and then on August the 1st, we're going to draw some numbers out, and you're going to have 3 minutes to either call into the show or put it in the chat that you are present. Now, there's some other things that you have to do. You have to share that post. You also have to go to the RELICS Radio Spreaker site and follow us there. And there's some other things that you'll have to do. And we're doing something different this time. We're going to have 3 key words that we're going to throw out in tonight's show will be one. On the 18th, which will be next Thursday, will be another. And then on the 25th, we will give out the 3rd clue or key word. You need to write them down, and you will have to put those in the order that we gave them out. And like I say, sometime tonight, you don't know when. What we're trying to do, Jeff, is we're trying to get them to listen to the whole show, ain't we?
Yeah, we're trying to get them to listen to the whole show, and then, of course, right now we don't even know when we're going to do it. So I mean, it'll be sometime in this show.
Yeah,
so
yeah, it'll be sometime tonight, and don't know, maybe early, maybe middle, maybe late. Doesn't make any difference to me. And I'm looking back through my notes. That's pretty well all that I had to start out with. If you want to bring our guest on, we'll just kick this show off.
Well, we've got a good guest tonight, and I can't wait to interview him. Of course, he's from Rhode Island, and Nathan Matthews. How's it going, Nathan?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing great. So,
as they say in the South, we're fair to middling.
I hadn't heard that in a long time.
And I was raised up in Texas. I always thought that they were fair to Midland, Texas, but I really don't know what that saying means. But that's what I say anyway. But good to have you.
Good thing.
Yeah, good to have you on the show tonight. We've been looking forward to this show, and we've got a bundle of stuff to talk about here tonight. But I tell you what, if we just get it started off, if you would just kind of give us an overview of how you got started in metal detecting, what sparked your interest in this hobby?
All right. Well, so the first piece of entering the metal detecting world for me was actually privy digging, bottle digging. I started out with my really good friend, Jeff Muthersbaugh, who's also a partner with Rhode Island Relics and Pound the Ground. He's our one of our event directors anyways. We started out as just good friends, and we were digging wells in 1700s cellar hole areas. And I don't know, I just immediately fell in love with it, climbing down 25 feet into a well and finding these amazing bottles that were still all together. It was just an absolute incredible feeling to pull something that old out of the ground. And when I was a child, I'm 40 basically, and my mother had a metal detector she purchased from Radio Shack. I don't know if anybody remembers Radio Shack, but she let me use this metal detector, and I would go to the beach and I would metal detect on the dry parts of the beach. And I absolutely, at that time, I thought it was fantastic to dig up, quarters and dimes and whatever I could find, but it didn't stick with me. It wasn't until about 7 years ago that my friend Jeff introduced me to metal detecting. It was another thing that he was doing, and he said, I think you might really like this. And I'll be very honest, when I started, I was like, I'm not sure I'm going to like this at all, but I absolutely fell in love with it. It became an obsession after I found my very first silver barber quarter on a 1709 property in Cumberland, Rhode Island. That was what sold it for me. I found amazing things that day, but that piece of silver really changed my entire life. And since then, it's been a complete obsession.
Wow, that's a pretty good story. Now, see, I've been wanting to get into some of the privies and bottle digging myself, and I mean, of course, the older I get, the less it's going to be able to happen. But can you recall some of your best finds that you found with a metal detector when you first started 7 years ago?
Oh, when I first started, absolutely. Everyone that's a metal detectorist now who is like really dedicated to metal detecting and they're obsessed with metal detecting, it's no longer a hobby. They will remember every single one of their finds. And for me, I think the first find, like I said, that really changed my life was that barber quarter. Beyond that, I didn't even realize what I had. I found a 41st French Regiment button from the Revolutionary War, which was incredible, on just some random property that I got permission for in Cumberland, Rhode Island. All sorts of things, artillery buttons from the Civil War, random regiment buttons from all sorts of different wars and whatnot. And that was like in my first year of detecting. So when you find things like that, it forever changes you. And I just, it could have been anything. It could have been a suspender clasp. It could have been a Roosevelt dime. It didn't matter to me in my first year of metal detecting because you realize that you're spending time with amazing people who you really care about, genuinely care about, and you're doing something that you both have both have the same sort of interest in. And I found a bunch of amazing things, but ultimately the best part of it, and the thing that kept me going, was the fact that I could share it with good friends.
That's right. You're 100% right there. I hunted by myself when I first started, and luckily I met Seven, and we started hunting, and it was more fun hunting with someone that you could share the find with, instead of just being there filming it on a video, and then of course nobody else is there right there with you to share the fun with. So when you got into bottling, how did you go about finding the bottle dumps, the privies and trash pits?
So in Rhode Island, we're very lucky. I mean, the history here is absolutely amazing. 1636, I want to say, is when Roger Williams founded this area, which officially became the Providence Plantation. So if you go to any library in town, or any part of town, and you research areas, it'll come up. You'll find maps, you'll find everything under the sun, and basically villages that you'd never be able to see on a modern day map. You'd never know they existed, but you do enough research at the library and you'll find amazing, amazing things. And we happen to find a bunch of villages throughout Cumberland, especially because we were Lincoln natives, and Lincoln is also extremely historic. I mean, we're named after Abraham Lincoln. So we spent a lot of time just researching, and we came across some really old, amazing properties, and we would find the wells there and try to dig out the wells, and we'd find the privies that were about 50 feet downwind from the cellar holes, and we just spend time, so much time, 12-hour days just digging and looking for the most incredible stuff. And we're very lucky, pulling out old medicine bottles and old poison bottles and emerald green glass bottles from the 1700s. It just was an immediate spark. You're just, oh my God, I'm touching history. Who knows the last person that touched this, what were they doing that day? What was it that made them do whatever they were doing? It's just a really exciting process. So, putting a lot of research in, finding the local areas where you could go, and spending a bunch of time, a ridiculous amount of time in the middle of nowhere looking for incredible things that are in wells or privies, and not being afraid of the smell of 250-year-old feces.
Loy, if we have to dig 50 feet, I'll give you a 49-foot head start. And then
yeah, that's what I was fixing to say. You were talking about that the privies would be downwind. Now, in your area of the country, which direction would that be from a home site?
Well, it really depends. What I noticed from the cellar holes here is that it was more in the northwest direction for any of the privies. So basically, I would walk northwest about 50 to 100 feet. It really depends. And that's normally where you would find the privy, because it was keeping the smell away from the home site. Right. So basically, they would position it as far as possible away from the home site, and that's where you find the most incredible stuff. Not to mention, after I got into metal detecting, beyond the bottle digging, anytime we were around a privy or an old well, we would find amazing things in the ground. I mean, just absolutely incredible coins and colonial wedding bands and all sorts of amazing things. I didn't know that when I was just bottle digging, but when I became, a full-on metal detectorist, those are my favorite places to go. And I was very lucky because at that time, metal detecting wasn't extremely popular, and people weren't hitting every single site that I had available, so I was able to pull a lot of amazing stuff out of the ground.
Yeah. Well, in our area here, in the summertime, we get a wind out of the south and it's really warm. So you didn't want the outhouse on the south side of the house because in the summer,
right,
you're going to get that southerly breeze and you're going to get the smell too. So we would try to put them north of the house because you're still going to get a breeze in the winter, but the smell's not as bad in the winter and everything. And I just wondered if it was the same with you. Are those sites that you were finding, can you visually see those, or did you guys use probes or anything like that?
Oh, you mean privy probes?
Yeah.
No, we didn't need privy probes for the 1700 cellar holes and whatnot. Those were easily found. Like, that was not an issue at that time. I'm sure you can understand that before the outhouse really existed, there were just literal areas where people would go to do what they needed to do. You know what I mean? And at points there wasn't an actual outhouse. We had a specific spot in Smithfield, Rhode Island, of all places, where they just had a stone privy. Like, there were 3 holes in a large piece of stone, no building around it, no nothing, just 50 to 100 feet away from the property. And we ended up getting in that privy, and we found every button you could possibly imagine on the uniform of a Civil War soldier. That's pretty incredible. And we just started collecting all that stuff and just being super excited about it. Like, so that you realize then that, like, that whole privy area had been, it had lasted throughout history, because obviously if it was built in the 1700s and we were finding Civil War material, obviously it had lasted for a very long time, and somebody just thought it worked the way that it worked.
Yeah, I tell you what, you're talking right down our alley, because me and Jeff, we're really interested in getting into privies and trash pits and all that. But hey, guys, we need to take a commercial break, and we'll be right back. T-shirts are a perfect way to get your brand recognized, whether you're talking about a business, a club, a sports team, your YouTube channel, or whatever. But you may have asked, where can I get quality, affordable shirts on demand? Well, I'm glad you asked. RELICS RADIO uses DetectTees.com for all of our T-shirts, long sleeve shirts, and hoodies. That's DetectTees.com. Ken and Mark Guthrie make quality shirts that last, they ship quick, and best of all, they're affordable. So if you need customized apparel, then go to DetectTees.com and be sure and tell them that RELICS Radio sent you. And by the way, guys, if you haven't noticed on the RELICS Radio Facebook group page, DetectTees is now making the RELICS Radio cooling towels, and we'll give 1 or 2 of those away somewhere tonight along the way. They are amazing. I mean, amazing. So you need to go to DetectTees.com. I use mine mowing the yard and metal detecting and everything. Don't you, Jeff?
I do. I was actually cleaning out the shop the other day, and I was using mine, and I mean, it's wonderful. It really is. I mean, it takes the sweat right off.
I don't know what the process is. I guess just having that moisture, and it's got little microscopic holes in it, or really small holes, and the air kind of goes through that. And with the evaporation of the water, it really does. I mean, it really does make a difference. It's a whole lot cooler. So go to DetectTees.com and check out those RELICS Radio cooling towels. Be the first one in your neighborhood to get one, or the first one in your fields to get one.
Yeah,
but
7, I was wanting to make sure we did mark ours, though. So if we're out hunting together, I don't want to accidentally grab your sweat towel and use it. So.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. We probably need to do that, because I don't want yours either. And also right now, and I see that Ken Guthrie put it in there right now, and it's for a limited time only. So you got to jump on this real quick. If you order 2 T-shirts, you get a free cooling towel, and that's a $10 value. Those cooling towels are $10. So why don't you go to Detect Tees, order 2 Relics Radio T-shirts? They're going to send you a Relics Radio cooling towel free of charge. You can't beat a deal like that. It's Christmas time.
It really is. It's what it seems like.
Yeah, he was right down our alley on the privy stuff and everything. I tell you, but getting back to metal detecting, Nathan, what kind of places do you prefer to hunt?
For me, I am a cornfield metal detectorist. Obviously, with cornfields, they're tilling that area every year. I've been going back to the same cornfields over and over and over again, and it is just nonstop amazing treasure I get to pull out of the ground. I went to a cornfield about a month ago. I've been hitting this cornfield now for years, and it just never stops giving things up. I dug an artillery button from the Civil War there. Every button under the sun, every gold-gilded button that you could possibly imagine. I have them all, and I just dug the other day an 1854 seated dime, which is fantastic, but that is probably like the 20th seated dime we've pulled out of this field. I pulled my first cap bust 50-cent piece out of there. All sorts of amazing things come out of that field. So cornfields to me always, always, always are my favorite places to metal detect.
Yeah, and, in our area, they're doing a lot of no-till. I mean, they used to plow everything up really good. And the only places that they plow now are tobacco patches. And they're starting to kind of no-till that. But don't you think that during the winter, that especially brass with the freeze and the thaw, don't you think those relics kind of come to the top of the ground?
Absolutely, 100%. Every time I go back to the field after the winter, it's like brand new. Everything feels like I have never hit that property before. And I can tell you, I'm the kind of detectorist where when I go out to a field, I will hit it horizontally. I'll hit it vertically. I'll hit it diagonally. I'll do every single thing in 25-foot patches. And I'll go over it and over it and over it. So I know at the end of the season, I've absolutely done everything I could possibly do. I go back the next year, and it's brand new to me. So I love it. I keep going back to cornfields. I live by them. I love them. They're the best. Now, if you can find a cellar hole, that's all well and good, but everybody that's a metal detectorist now is going back to the same cellar hole over and over and over and over again, and it's real tough to find all the best stuff there.
Yeah, because it's been picked over so much and everything,
Right.
And but now you've got to do research to find those homesteads in the cornfields, don't you?
Absolutely. So the research is the biggest part, I think. A lot of people tend to forget that there is a lot of time and effort that goes into actually finding the property that's going to produce for you. Now, I have gone to cornfields that have basically had nothing, but the reality is you can find a cornfield in an extremely historic area, but that cornfield could be 20 years old. They may have just started producing corn crop, and, you're not really going to find anything there. So putting the research in beforehand is the best bet. That's what we do. Jeff and I, especially from Rhode Island Relics and Pound the Ground, we put in a ridiculous amount of research, and then we go there, and it's been paying off for us. I've been very, very lucky since I started metal detecting.
Nathan, have you noticed, like, if you're in a cornfield and you run up on a colonial site, is there normally another colonial site fairly close to that site, or what would that distance be if there is?
Well, it really depends. In Rhode Island, of all places, we're a tiny little state, but people, I think, like their privacy. They like the fact that they could have their home sites separated by a large amount of property. So some of the places where I found first ever Spanish reals and half dimes and things of that nature and whatever, they were pretty far apart. So you got to do some major hiking. Now I've been on metal detecting sites where I've hiked 2.5 miles into the woods to find the first cellar hole, and then I'll hike another 1.5 miles to find something else. It's just a matter of tracking the land, keeping a look at the trails on the ground, looking at the overgrowth, seeing where you think people might have been walking, because even a few hundred years later, it's pretty easy to tell that there was a passageway there, and that's where people were mainly commuting. So that's what we do. We go out, we find the one cellar hole, and then we just hike beyond that as far as possible until we can find something else. And we've been very, very, very lucky because we put in the extra effort to hike as far as possible. And that's where we find some of the most amazing stuff, in the places where people are not willing to go.
Well, how many, like down here, if we run up on one colonial site, in my area, it was the earliest long hunters were here around 1750s. And after the forts was abandoned, we had 2 forts here in my area, and after they were abandoned, the home sites, of course, everyone tried to stay kind of together. I guess there's more safety in numbers, as you would say. And some of them, you will find one site, and in maybe 500 yards, you may find another site. So, I mean, that's the way it is down here. I guess because of Native Americans, there were a lot of Native Americans around this area. So, but metal
same here. I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to go to the metal detectors. What metal detectors did you start out with, and what machine do you use now, and why?
Okay, so that's easy. I got when I was a little, my mom gave me a machine. I believe it was a Bounty Hunter, or something along those lines. It was a Bounty Hunter. I moved up to the A series machines when I was probably a couple of years into it, and then I took a huge jump to the CTX 3030, and that has been my diehard go-to machine forever. A lot of people say, well, there's a lot of machines on the market that compete with it, and I've tried every single one of them because I have access to every single machine. The truth is, you get comfortable with your specific machine, and that's my go-to machine. When I go out metal detecting, I need my CTX 3030 because I understand the tones, I understand the numbers, and I don't have to worry about, what I'm going over. I was in a field. This is not very long ago, with a bunch of my friends that were using the Equinox 800, and they kept going over the signal that they thought was a bullet casing, and they didn't want to detect it. They didn't want to dig it. And I went over it with the CTX 3030, and I got a 409, and I knew immediately that it was gold. And I dug a 22-karat gold ring with a $5,000 ruby in the middle of it. That's the kind of stuff you're looking for with a CTX 3030. You can find it if you know your numbers and you know your tones. So I never ignore the tones that make sense to me. And with the VDI on a machine that only has one number, I can't justify using it when I know that the ferrous, non-ferrous ability of the CTX, along with the target trace, is really going to help me find the most incredible stuff.
I've never had a CTX 3037 has had one, and he ended up getting rid of it. And I think to this day, he kind of wish he had it back.
I do. If I could get it back, I'd get it back. I didn't like to relic hunt with it, although I found a lot of relics with it. I found a lot of, especially flat buttons, because I could hear I knew the tone of a flat button on the CTX, right, and I could hear that tone mixed in with all kind of trash and nails and everything. And you might just get a bleep, just a small sliver of a tone, but I knew that there was a button down in there somewhere. But right, I didn't like to scout with it. I love to scout with the AT Pro because I can hear the debris field and everything. And I don't know, I'm just more comfortable with it. But What coil?
Yeah, well, no, I would never say anything bad about the AT Pro. I'll tell you right now, I found my first ever gold coin with the AT Pro. The machine is absolutely incredible. For me, with the ferrous, non-ferrous ability of the CTX 3030, I know when I see a target on the screen that it is worthwhile for me to dig. Now, if I come across a nail, it's going to come up, 34, 42, or whatever it may be, and I know that I don't have to waste my time digging it because it's a terrible signal. Now, keep in mind, if I'm doing that, I'm potentially losing a chance at finding something absolutely incredible. And, I have found on iron signal days, which I do, by the way, I go out to metal detect, and I specifically metal detect only iron signals on that day to see what I can find. And I've come up with some absolutely amazing history doing the iron signal days.
Yeah. They're tearing me up in chat. Mark Hoover, Mark and Nathan, I'm the old man. And so Mark says, I want my hickory dowsing rods back, not my 3030. And Barb said I had a hard time swinging that big old 3030 at 185 years old. I'm just 165 years old, I'll have you know, Barb. What coil do you like to use on that 3030 when you're working a house site like that?
All right. Well, so it really depends. So if I'm on a cornfield and it's wide open, I'm going to use the 17-inch coil. Now, if there's stalks in that cornfield, I'm going to use the 6-inch coil. It really depends. But the thing with the CTX 3030 that people don't comprehend really, as far as I can tell, is you don't want to get a CTX 3030 and swing it at a rapid pace.
No.
You're going to go low and slow, and you're going to pay real close attention to those signals that are in the ground. I have gone over areas with that CTX 3030 that have been hit for years and years and years, and I have found absolutely incredible things with it because I took my time, I went very slow, and I used my 17-inch coil, one of the most amazing finds at this property in Johnston, Rhode Island. People have been metal detecting this area forever. I was about 10 feet from the largest tree on the property, and God knows everybody goes to the largest tree because they realize it's extremely historic, and that's where they're going to find the oldest stuff. And I was about 10 feet from this tree, and I got a 15-inch signal in the ground, and it was a Morgan dollar in perfect shape, absolutely gorgeous. And those are the things that I look for with the CTX 3030. I go very slow, and I listen for that amazing peak signal. And even still, there are some signals that come up as midtones. But if a midtone is coming up at 12 inches deep, you better dig it, because chances are it's an incredible button or something along those lines.
Yeah. Hey, guys, we need to take another commercial break, and we'll be right back. If your passion is metal detecting, then you know how much your success is based on the equipment you use. Let my buddy Tim Henderson of Murray Branch Outdoors in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, help you with that. Tim is an authorized dealer of Mine Lab, Garrett, XP Deus, and macro detectors and supplies, and also carries many aftermarket items. Murray Branch Outdoors is not only competitive in their prices, but the service after the sale is second to none. Tim not only sells detectors, he uses them, and so he can answer any question that you might have. Murray Branch Outdoors also deals in used detectors, and he'll take your old detector in on trade when you decide to upgrade. So give Tim Henderson of Murray Branch Outdoors a call at 615-948-4611 or visit his website at www.murraybranchoutdoors.com, and be sure and tell him RELICS Radio sent you. And we're talking about the CTX. Tim is an authorized Mine Lab dealer. He can get you a CTX. He can get you that 17-inch coil. he can get you that 6-inch coil, and he can get you anything that you want. Give him a call. Murray Branch Outdoors, Tim Henderson. Tell him that Loy and Jeff sent you over that way. Let's get into segment 3, because I want to know how Rhode Island Relics got started.
Okay, well, that was just, it's pretty selfish on my part, I'm not going to lie. Rhode Island Relics started basically because I wanted to be able to communicate with people who metal detect all over the place. And I realized that in order to do that with social media nowadays and whatnot, you needed to have a club, and you needed to have a club online. You needed to be able to communicate with these people. And I was constantly following all of these different posts on Facebook where I was seeing these incredible recoveries, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to be a part of that. How do I get involved with that? And I was talking once again with my buddy Jeff Muthersbaugh from the get-go, and we said, maybe we should establish our own club and find other people who are just as interested in this as us. So I just sort of started it as a whim, and it became this massive thing. We didn't realize it was going to turn into this thing, but we did that, and Rhode Island Relics eventually formed Pound the Ground. We started doing Pound the Ground events, and they just sort of blew up overnight. We didn't know it was going to happen, but that's really how it all started. It was just starting as an idea of metal detecting with other people who loved what we were doing, and I travel a lot, so I wanted to do that across the United States, and that was it.
Man, that sounds great. How far is Rhode Island Relics? How far have they traveled? And how many followers?
Oh, gosh. I go to Detectival every year. So Rhode Island Relics goes to Detectival every year. We're going again this year as guests of Peter Terrell of LP Metal Detecting in the UK. Detectival is absolutely incredible. And yes, of course, we hold our event in America now, the Pound the Ground event. But a lot of it is based on this idea of detecting at Detectival. Not everyone can afford to travel that far to metal detect. Now, I've been very lucky, as I was a professional musician for a long time, and I have an amazing job working in the psychiatric industry and whatnot. So I was able to travel to Detectival and able to put myself up and able to participate in this amazing event. It's sort of just it came to be that we wanted to do something in America that was like Detectival, but at a cheaper cost for the American public who could also metal detect in America and not have to spend $1,000 on a plane ticket to fly out there.
Yeah. What? Well, for us that doesn't know, is it Detectival?
Yes, Detectival.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about
Detectival is in the Cotswolds in England. It's an extremely historic area that ties back to the Viking era. And it's an incredible area. It's an incredible area to metal detect. It's a dream come true for any metal detectorist. And I go out there as often as possible, and I'm going out again this September with the entire Rhode Island Relics crew and the Pound the Ground team, and we're going to go out there and try to find some amazing history. It's just an absolutely incredible event to take place and to be a part of. So that's why we do it. Now, as far as how far I've metal detected personally, I don't know. I've been in Italy. I've been in Rome, trying to do some metal detecting there, which didn't work out very well. Barcelona. I've been in Vienna. Everywhere possible where I can meet up with other people that metal detect, I'll do whatever I can to make that happen.
I tell you what, Jeff.
How long is?
I think we need to. I think he needs to recruit us to the Rhode Island Relic team, and we need to go and take us to Detectiveville. I would love to go over there and hunt. I mean, I would absolutely love to do it because you're talking about.
Well, I'm telling you,
some of the oldest history that you can find, right?
Absolutely. So the thing with Detectiveville is that we're not, in America, we're not going to touch anything that's thousands of years old. And the way that I explain it to them, with the interest of pushing this American event, is that our history may not be as old on a global timeline. But I can tell you this, we haven't been making the same coin for thousands of years. We don't have the same thing in the ground for all that time. So when I come across an 1896 S barber quarter, it's the value in that is going to be much more than anything that you might pull out of the ground there. I mean, you could pull out a gold coin that's thousands of years old, and you're going to get 200 quid for it, which is really not a lot of money when you think about a lot of these people are metal detecting specifically because they want to find treasure. Now, I'm not that person. I don't care to find treasure. I mean, of course, it's amazing when it comes along. I prefer to find the history that attaches us to what America was doing throughout the world and what was happening at that time. And I don't know, it's just an amazing feeling there. The reality is, Detectiveville, you go out there and you're uncovering Viking treasure from thousands of years ago. You really can't really compete with it. You know, if you're really in love with metal detecting and you don't care about the value of what you're finding and you care more about the historical significance, Detectiveville is the most amazing place for you to go to make that happen.
Yeah. How long is Detectiveville? How many people attend?
Oh my God. Detectiveville, I think last year they had 2,000 people.
Wow.
So this is where we're sort of like priding ourselves on the Pound the Ground event because Detectiveville has 1,000 people, 1,000 acres, and 2,000 people participate. We've gone well over that. And we're trying to draw as many people as possible in America to the event because we realize we have the most historically significant property for Pound the Ground. I mean, every encampment you could possibly imagine, every battle in New York, every major war, everything took place on this property, and that's really where we're priding ourselves because we did an extreme amount of research before we picked this property. And Peter Sorrell, who's also an event director, and he runs the Adirondack Metal Detecting Club out there in Plattsburgh, Chazy, New York. We really put something together that is going to blow people's minds.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that in great detail in the next segment. I've got one question, though. Will you guys allow rednecks to come to Pound the Ground, or will they allow rednecks to go over to Detectiveville?
That's hilarious. The reality is that we don't consider anybody a redneck. I mean, whatever. I mean, you could call yourself a redneck. We don't really care. The truth is, we're all metal detectorists.
That's right.
You know, the truth is, we may come from all parts of the globe. And with the Pound the Ground event, we have people coming from every state in America to participate. It's absolutely incredible. Truth is, we don't care, man. I grew up in the South too. I grew up in Oklahoma. I lived in New Mexico. It's a different kind of South, but it's all the same. You know, we all love metal detecting. We accept everybody under the sun. There's no judging anybody or caring about anything other than the fact that we love history.
Yeah, good answer. But now, you know, that's our brand. We're 2.5 rednecks with a metal detector. So that's what our brand is. And, you know, we're proud of that. And you know, we're not demeaning anybody, especially all the rednecks that we live around here. We went up north one time up to Illinois. We had bought some farm equipment and everything, me and my brother-in-law. And it was in January when we went, and it went to snowing on us, and we'd driven all day long. And the further that we went, the heavier the snow got, and we were concerned that we would even be able to get back to my wife and his wife's brother's house in Champaign, Illinois. And he was saying, "Man, I'm worried about this. I'm worried." I said, "I am worried too," And then in a minute he said, "I ain't worried no more." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because if we get snowed in or we get in trouble," he said, "those people right back there said they're from down home." And I said, "You know those people?" And he said, "No." I said, "How you know they're from down home?" He said, "They had an old wrecked car out in the front yard there with Christmas lights on it." He said, "They rednecks."
You know what? I don't want to disappoint you. But we have plenty of wrecked cars with Christmas lights on them here in Rhode Island.
Well,
and we're the farthest north you can get,
Well, they're rednecks. I'll guarantee you that. Let us take this commercial break, and we'll be right back. If you want to keep up with what's going on in the metal detecting world, then you need to be a subscriber to American Digger magazine. Butch and Anita Holcomb are the publishers of the magazine and have won awards for 3 straight years for being the best digger magazine on the market. American Digger magazine is available in both print and digital formats, so no matter where you live in the world, you can enjoy the latest happenings in the hobby. You can get in touch with American Digger magazine by going to americandigger.com or give them a call at 770-362-8671. And be sure and tell them that you heard it on RELICS Radio. And by the way, guys, I am the luckiest man in the world, I do believe. I not only get to produce RELICS Radio and be a host on it, I also get to produce American Digger's Relic Roundup and be a co-host on it on Monday night with Butch Holcomb and Jeff Lupert, and that comes on Spreaker at 9 p.m. Eastern. And by the way, the Chattanooga Relic Show is coming up in Chattanooga, Tennessee, July the 27th and 28th, and we're going to be at the broadcast table there. We'll be doing shows for American Digger, History Seekers, and RELICS Radio. So if you are there, you be sure that you come over to the broadcast table where me and Jeff can meet you, shake your hand, and get a picture made with you. Ain't that right, Jeff?
That's right, buddy. And then, of course, me, you, and Mark's got to come up with a dance like Heath and Butch did last year.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do a two-step or anything with you guys, but we come up with something.
Well, I'll tell you what. We'll do a dance with our keyword, which is what?
The holler.
Holler. H-O-L-L-E-R. Write it down, folks. That's our keyword tonight is holler. Hey, Nathan, we want to talk about the Pound the Ground event. Tell us about that event.
Okay, well, first off, I want to mention that American Digger magazine today just announced that they are going to be doing a big feature on the Pound the Ground event. I was speaking with Butch Holcomb today, and we were talking about that. So keep an eye out for some American Digger magazine information on the event before and after the event. The Pound Ground event turned into this massive thing. We started off as doing a very small event locally in Rhode Island. It's always been supported by Rhode Island Relics, which is my club and my company. We're a metal detecting dealership as well as a massive club with 140 plus members. And when I went out to the conference in the conference for Mine Lab in Italy, we were talking a lot about the Pound the Ground event and what we wanted to do with it as far as expanding. And I think I mentioned earlier that my good friend Peter Terrell from LP Metal Detecting in the UK, I was just really excited about what detectable was and what we could do in America on the same level as detectable. We didn't have anything here that was that large. We didn't have 1,000+ acres to metal detect, And I just reached out to a bunch of the manufacturers. I had already known them, and they were all extremely excited, and it just turned into this major event overnight. And now we've got every major manufacturer involved. We've got XP, we've got Mine Lab, we've got Garrett, who is bringing every major Garrett detectorist. We've got the Hoover Boys, we've got Keiji and Ringy, we've got Jocelyn Elizabeth, we have Gypsy. We have everybody. It's absolutely incredible, and it's just going to be this absolutely insane event on a massive amount of property with the largest seeded hunt ever. Now, me personally, I'm not a seeded hunt goer. I'm more interested in the natural aspect of it. So we wanted to make sure that when we did the research for the property, that this was going to be a property that was really going to give all of the people who are attending a chance to find incredible history in the ground.
It sounds like it's going to be a great place. What is this, October the 5th and 6th?
Yes, October 5th and 6th. The event is, it starts very early on that Saturday. We have a lot of amazing things taking place. So we decided we're going to have some live music. So we have live music. We have, we're working on a Civil War reenactment to kick off the Saturday, which is going to introduce the entire event. The town of Plattsburgh and all the surrounding areas, the public community be there. We have promotion from the entire state of New York for this entire event. That's 300,000 plus people that they're going to reach just to have them come to see the event. Even if they're non-detecting guests, they get to walk through the metal detecting club field and see all the amazing stuff that people are pulling out of the ground. We have a ridiculous amount of land that has an extreme historic connection to America, and I think it's really going to be absolutely incredible. The natural hunt and then the seeded hunt has gold coins, gold nuggets, every major piece of silver ever. We wanted to make sure that what people were digging at this event was something that they might not find in their local community.
It's starting to sound like the World's Fair, and I just found out, RELICS RADIO is going to be represented there by Half Redneck. So.
Yeah, Mark Hoover.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Mark's going
there. Yes, Mark Hoover. Yeah, Mark Hoover is a good buddy of mine. He's such an incredible person that has been a big part of this event. We talk on a regular basis. I'm so excited that RELICS Radio is going to be there and be a part of it. I'm hoping you guys can do some sort of radio interview there with the guests and whatnot, whatever you may want to do. I think it's going to be really incredible for everybody, and a lot of people will tune into RELICS Radio, and it's going to be an incredible event.
What was the entry fee for this, Nathan?
All right, so there are a bunch of different entry fees, and this is where things get a little bit complicated, but, we try to make it easy for everybody. Not everybody can afford a $150 ticket to do both days of the natural hunt and the seeded hunt. So we offered a one-day pass for the natural hunt for $50. We are offering a veteran discount for both days, and this means that you can metal detect the natural hunt, you can metal detect the seeded hunt, you can do whatever you want for $75 if you are a veteran. If you are part of a metal detecting club, we are allowing 5 guests from a metal detecting club to receive discounted tickets at $75 a piece. You will need to have one volunteer to help us with our seeded hunt. The seeded hunt is massive, like absolutely insane, the amount of money that we're putting in the ground. So for every 10 people, we'll need 2 volunteers, and so on and so forth. We have 15, we need 3 volunteers. We have 20, we need 4 volunteers. Now, we're telling people, try to find volunteers that are non-metal detecting guests. This way, nobody has to miss out on metal detecting. Beyond that, the natural hunt and the seated hunt is a $150 ticket, but it is so well worth it. We've got like 9-gram gold nuggets going in the ground. We have gold coins going in the ground. We made sure that the amount of stuff that we're putting in the ground is extremely valuable, and there will be people that are paying for their tickets and leaving with more money from the fines that they have than they spent on the entire trip.
Sounds like a good deal. I tell you, it does. Hey, we got a question that came in from Mark Thomas, and he I think it was Mark Thomas. Anyway, he wanted to know, will there be a map of the hunt area? Will there be a map available before the hunt so people can do some research on that area?
Yes, absolutely. So, well, first off, if you do any research on the town of Plattsburgh, Chazy, or anything like that, you'll see that this specific area, we've provided the address, the North Farm Road address. If you just look at any history related to that specific area, you're going to see that there is so much information and so many amazing things took place on this property. Yes, we're going to release a map, and we're also going to release an itinerary of the daily events. It's going to be a 2-day event. We're expecting people to probably come in on the Friday. The Friday is where we're going to have our massive meet and greet. The meet and greet is going to take place at the American Legion, which has, a bar and a restaurant and all sorts of amazing things. We're going to do a lot of fun things there as well. A lot of people are going to be able to meet each other before they metal detect this massive land.
Yeah. Sounds good. I'm not going to get to come this year. Hopefully, maybe next year I can, but I don't know if Jeff is going. I know Mark Hoover is going, and if we can get Mark,
yes, he absolutely is.
If he's got a good phone signal there, I'm not against doing a special show on Saturday, and just to have him go around and interview some people, by phone, we can do that. Hey guys, let's open up the phone lines, 270-495-0315. And Tennessee Jeff has already got it in the chat. You Johnny on the spot tonight. Call in and talk to Nathan Matthews of Rhode Island Relics and Pound the Ground event. You were talking about hunting seated hunts. I'm not much on that either, but there are a lot of people, especially newcomers to the hobby, that would be a treat for them, to be able to do that. But I think it's a good idea that you're accommodating the beginner with the seated hunt, and there's a lot of people that just like to hunt seated hunts anyway. But then you've got a really historic place where those of us that are true relic hunters and like to dig in a natural setting, you just got a buffet there for metal detectorists, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. So the point was, we knew that there were going to be a lot of beginner detectorists that were attending the event. And we wanted to make sure that they understood, the reality is, anyone can find treasure. If you spend enough time metal detecting, you spend enough time out there figuring out your signals, figuring out your tones, understanding your machine, you're going to have access to find these incredible things. So we wanted to make sure that that was an option for people that are beginning, and then for the intermediate and then expert detectorists, we have this massive amount of land where who knows what is going to be out there to be found. We know that in total, on this massive property, we've had 3 people metal detected the property for, I think, less than an hour in total, in less than 1 acre on that amount of time. And they found incredible history there. So it's going to really pay off. I really think that it's going to be an incredible event. Peter Sorrell from Adirondack Detecting went out there to shoot a live video just to show people some of the land that we're going to be metal detecting on. and he literally walked over a scabbard. Just walked over a scabbard and said, I found... It was literally on the top of the surface, and he was like, you know what? I'm going to leave it here. Maybe somebody's going to find it at the event. But so it's just, that gives you an idea of the kind of stuff that we're looking at this event, and we know that it's going to be absolutely incredible, and we know that we picked the right property. And, the next Pound the Ground event will be somewhere equally as historic. It won't be in the same area. We are moving this event all across America. We've done a ridiculous amount of research to line up the properties that we want for the next Pound the Ground event already. And I think that after this one is done, nobody will even question whether or not they need to be at the event in the future.
Yeah.
So you still have tickets left, right?
Oh, yes. We have plenty of tickets left. So the world knows we're capping. We're going to stop selling tickets at 1,500 guests, which seems like an astronomical amount. But when you look at the property that we have, that's like more than 1 acre per person. And there's really there's no chance in 2 days that one person is going to cover that amount of property. When I go to Detectival, there's 2,000 guests on 1,000 acres, and I spent 12 hours in the same field, and I think maybe I saw 15 other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you've got plenty of room having that much acreage for that many people. And I see that Mark Hoover put the link to the event in the chat. I have the link to the event in the description on this show. I also have your Facebook page. I also have your website, and I've got several links in there. So if you're wondering about that, you can either pull it out of the chat, or after the show you can go to the description, and I've got those links in there. And by the way, Nathan, come on the RELICS Radio Facebook group page and put as many links as you want to there, because that's what we're all about. Hey guys, phone lines are open. 270-495-0315. Let's get a caller in here and talk to Nathan. What is your vision for the future of Pound the Ground? I'm sorry, Jeff.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
The vision for the future of Pound the Ground, I mean, I won't lie when I say this is the selfish thing for me. I love metal detecting. I want to metal detect with everyone across the planet. So what's coming up after this is, obviously we're always going to be doing these Pound the Ground events, especially with the popularity now. We're going to continue to do them, and we're going to make sure that they're in the most historic areas possible, and that they're going to be on property where people are going to find amazing things. On top of that, Pound the Ground in Rhode Island Relics, we're going to be doing a Pound the Ground tour, which will be sponsored by every major manufacturer in the metal detecting industry. And we're going to be traveling throughout the United States, throughout the world, honestly, globally, and doing amazing metal detecting videos with some of the most incredible metal detectorists of all time. Our goal is to just constantly be out there finding history, uncovering history, and showcasing it to the public.
Well, we've got a caller in, Ring Finder. Denny, how's it going, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, Jeff and Lloyd. My question is for this hunt. It's in October, and hopefully you'll have nice dry weather, but if you don't, are you requiring a four-wheel vehicle? And how many people are in a vehicle, and where do they park?
All right. So, well, this part is pretty easy. We discussed this with the farmer already. Now, we have enough space for 1,500 cars for the event. We have a specific parking area where there will not be any issue with mud or with anything like that. The terrain will be easy enough to manage with your vehicle. A lot of people asked about that, and that was something that we wanted to deal with directly. So, yes, we're going to do that, and we're also in the process of trying to work out transportation from the hotels. So people might not even have to drive their own vehicles there. If they're staying at one of the hotels where we have discount codes, we're trying to allow people to travel from the hotel directly to the field without even having to bring their cars.
Okay, now if you got a parking area, how far do I have to walk to get to that farthest part of 1,500 acres?
Well, that part is tough.
I've been on 5,000 acres, and this just can't even hold a candle. That we actually had hay wagons take us around.
Well, you're going to have to walk 1,499 acres.
I know, Lloyd.
Yeah. So I'll tell you this. When I go to Detectival, and I was discussing this a little bit earlier, I could be on the same field for 12 hours. And I will just walk that entire field, and I'll see 15 people. Unfortunately, you're going to have to put in the legwork. And for somebody who has, I have progressive multiple sclerosis, so it's not easy for me to do it. I'm willing to do it as long as the history is in the ground.
Okay, I got a question also then. Will there be any vehicles like four-wheelers available?
We're not certain yet.
Not 1,500 people are going to be on a square acre. I mean,
you're right. People are going to be walking.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of walking, a lot of hiking, and it's the same thing at Detectival. They don't offer any transportation or anything like that. And believe me, I wish they did, because it would make it much easier for us. The reality is, when you get out to Detectival, as soon as they kick off, people just start walking to a specific spot where they think they're going to find the best stuff. And I think we're going to be in the same boat. Going forward in the future, we might be able to have, ATV rentals and things of that nature. But this is our first massive event. So right now we don't have that option. But I still think it's going to be well worth it if people, once we start releasing the maps and talking about the area, I think people will have a pretty good idea of where they're going to want to go, and unfortunately, they're going to have to walk.
Barb Connell just brought up my next question, and how about a medical team on site?
Oh, yes, we do have a medical team on hand. We have a bunch of nurses and EMT specialists that are going to be there. That was part of the liability insurance that we needed to have. Yes, there will be an entire medical team there.
And how about water drops?
Yes, there will also be water drops there as well. We were just talking about this with Kellyco. I'm not supposed to mention that directly right now because we haven't confirmed everything entirely, but that's what we're doing. We're talking about supplying water drops for every single person there so that they have a spot to go if they need water.
At those water drops, it's just a good idea to make sure everybody knows that's a good place to drop their trash, because instead of replanting it in the field, that is a no-no. Take your trash with you, please, or drop it in a spot.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying that, because the reality is this, is that at every single event we put on, we try to tell people right from the get-go, if you're finding trash in the ground, what you're going to find, there are going to be barrels. We have trash. We hired a trash detail company specifically for this so that people can get rid of their trash. There's no point in leaving that trash in the ground, especially if there's a barrel very close to you where you can get rid of that trash. Somebody's going to recycle it for you. I'm glad you brought it up. Everyone that's listening, please, if you're attending the event and you find trash in the ground, do not leave it there. Take it, put it in your pouch until you find a close enough barrel, and get rid of it there.
Nathan, can we have pulse machines, or is it just VLF?
No, you can have whatever machine you want. There is no question about what machine you want to use. Any machine is welcome. And that's the whole point of not making this an exclusive event for any particular brand. This event includes Garrett, includes Mind Lab, it includes XP, includes Nocta Macro. You bring whatever machine you have, and whatever you're comfortable with is all we care about.
Good deal.
And we
Danny,
had
start out like. Go ahead.
We had another question, and by the way, great call, Denny. You had some great questions. I tell you what, we're going to do. We're going to give you a RELICS Radio cooling towel for such a good call here tonight, and I know you can use it because you're.
It's just something that we do that at all of our hunts, and it's just things that we know that we need to have.
Yeah.
So then they're done.
Thank you for bringing those things up.
All right.
But we had another question that came from Digging with Deej. Which hotels are going to offer codes or discounts? Do you know that, and will you be putting that on the website and what have you?
Well, it is already on the website. If you look at the poster, we have every hotel in the Plattsburgh area. I want to make sure that I stress that. It's in Plattsburgh where we're going to have our meet and greet, and every hotel around Plattsburgh is connected with the Pound the Ground event, and all you have to do is contact them and say, I'm interested in a room, and it's for the metal detecting event, and they will give you a discount code.
Good deal. It sounded more and more like I need to go.
And you said you said people could bring anything. I think Mark Hoover's bringing a ground penetrating radar and a backhoe.
Okay, well,
I'm just kidding.
Listen, man, he can bring whatever he wants. Whatever he wants, he can bring. I don't care. He might have an issue with the other people at the event, but not me.
I told him early in the chat, hopefully he could stop by and pick me up on the way up there.
I tell you, it sounds like a major event. And guys, the phone lines are still open. We got time to take another call. 270-495-0315. Put it in there one more time, Jeff, and let's see if we can get a call in. I couldn't help but notice a while ago, Nathan, you said that you had a progressive MS condition. How do you deal with that and metal detecting for those people that might be listening that have a similar situation in their life?
Well, for me, it was, after you're diagnosed with something like that, your life immediately changes. I will say I never expected it. I didn't know that this was something that was going to happen to me. It's not something that is really hereditary. You don't get it from your mother and your father. It's like a very strange situation to have progressive MS. The reality is I cannot metal detect, or they say that I cannot metal detect the way that I did before. The reality is it hasn't affected me in that way. I have major, numbness throughout my body, and my brain doesn't tell my body to work the way that it used to. But when my neurologist says maybe you need to take a break with all this metal detecting, I say, no, thank you. I'm all set. I'm going to continue metal detecting, and I push through it. And it's not always easy, but I'll tell you, it's definitely paid off for me. I'm not in a wheelchair. I'm not incapable of walking. I'm not incapable of doing other things that all these people in MS Lifelines groups are incapable of doing. I feel like that if you have a passion for something and it really motivates you to continue to be active, it's really going to help you out. I know there are other people that have multiple sclerosis who are metal detecting. And it really is a benefit to be able to be out there and be active all the time. That hiking, just the digging aspect of it, the detecting aspect of it. You're constantly on your feet. You're constantly on, and it may not be very easy sometimes, but you're going to get back to your car and you're going to be able to get home. And you need to make sure that when someone tells you it might not be a possibility, you don't believe it, you don't accept it, you just keep doing what you have to do. And I've had MS this entire time, and it's not always easy, but I keep doing it because I love it, and nothing's ever going to change about that.
You're an inspiration to a lot of people for revealing that and saying that. And I was going to follow up by asking or suggesting, but you've pretty well answered the question. Staying in motion like that is really therapeutic. I know, I'm getting older, and I told Jeff here a year or so ago, I said, my hips are starting to bother me whenever I don't detect for a while. And he said, well, they ought to. They're 150-year-old. But I know whenever I get out, when I get out and detect, my body loosens up. It is good. Right. It's good exercise because you walk, you stoop, you get on your knees, you dig, you stand up, you stoop down again, you stand up again, you walk again. And you're keeping your body in motion. And H.D. Chevrolet said, a body in motion stays in motion. And I believe that.
I absolutely believe that, because the reality is, from the get-go, my neurologists have always told me, you need to cut it out with this metal detecting. You need to relax with the hiking. You need to do less because it's going to affect your body. And I'm telling you directly, with somebody who suffers from progressive multiple sclerosis, when I'm still, when I'm at home, when I'm not metal detecting, I'm way worse off than I am when I'm out in the field. When I'm out in the field, my brain is not focused on non-movement. My brain is focused on, where can I find my next piece of treasure? How much do I have to walk? Or how much do I have to hike to find the next thing? And it keeps me motivated. And when I find treasure, it just keeps me even more motivated. And I just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And I'm very thankful to say progressive MS has not affected my life that like it's affected some of the other people in my multiple sclerosis groups. I feel bad, but I show up at my MS Lifelines groups, and I'm still walking. I'm still talking. I'm still using my arms. I'm still using my legs. I'm not in a wheelchair. I am very comfortable with who I am, and I focus on the one thing that really drives me, and that's metal detecting. That's my life. I love it. I'm going to keep doing it, whether or not they tell me not to.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I would hope that I would be the same way. I've got one follow-up question, then I'm going to let Jeff have it back. Have you ever, okay, or are you anticipating maybe doing some kind of hunt or something as a fundraiser for MS?
Oh, absolutely. So what we tried to do this year was include the MS Lifelines. It's an extremely tough process because everything needs to be approved by this particular company and the MS Lifelines team and whatnot. But going forward, we're absolutely going to try to push some funds to the MS Lifelines, because really without them, a lot of people who are suffering from this disease, they would have no chance at medication or anything like that. I don't know if you guys understand the price of medication for people with progressive MS, but sometimes you're looking at $225,000 for medication for somebody who's suffering from a disease. And in other countries, you can get that medication for free. In America, we can't get that for free. So we're trying real hard to make sure that in the future we will be pushing help for the MS Lifelines team. We all need it. I can tell you nobody I know is making $225,000 a year. So trying to support the medication needs for somebody without medical care or health care, it's not really going to work unless we do things like this and we keep pushing funds to the MS Lifeline.
And while you're at Pound the Ground there and you've got all of those manufacturers there, Garrett and Mind Lab and XP Deus and Nocta Macro and all of that, it might be a good time to put a bug in their ear and make some kind of suggestion about them, helping sponsor an event like that.
Absolutely, yes. That is something that is definitely something I've thought about, and I think that going forward, I'm going to really talk with these manufacturers about their position with MS, because the truth is, as somebody that suffers from it, I understand it. I know how terrible it can be. People don't really realize how tough it can be on your life. I'm a father to 4-year-old twins and a 14-year-old daughter. I'm not as present as I could possibly be, unfortunately, because there are moments where I'm not capable of doing what everyone else is capable of doing. And there are other people out there that are just like me, that are suffering from the same disease. And the reality is, right now there's no cure. There's no real future for the benefit of. I don't know how to explain it. We have a shorter lifeline, we can say. We have a shorter lifeline. We know that when we speak with our neurologists, they say, well, you can expect in your mid-50s that you will no longer be able to walk, or you'll no longer be able to talk. Your lungs may shut down. All sorts of different things may happen to you. Now, I don't focus on that. I like to focus on the positivity. I like to focus on continuing to move. I like to focus on the fact that I love metal detecting, and I think that with the manufacturers that are involved, they will be able to definitely contribute to a major change in the multiple sclerosis environment.
Yeah, and, we have a relationship with all of those folks, too. So, guys, manufacturers, if you're listening to this show live, or if you're listening to the archive of that, take advantage of this opportunity, and let's get some heads together and see if we can do something about this. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, he was talking about the expensive medication. Of course, I know where you're coming from there. I take Enbrel shots. It's a biologic medication for, I have AS, and it's an immune system. And my immune system is attacking my joints. And, of course, I'm probably 75% fused in a lot of my joints. And it's very hard for me to metal detect as much as I would love to. But I can tell over the last 5 years I've slowed down a lot. But I realize if I slow down and stop altogether, every bit of my joints will fuse. And the medication that I'm on, it's $1,500 a week. And, of course,
right.
That's very expensive. And then, of course, now they have me on a chemo pill for it, and that just makes you sick. So, you really don't know where to go here. And then, of course, I know there's groups for MS and then groups for AS, and it's. I always look at it can always be worse, and I was told the same thing that most likely by the time I'm like 60, I will be in a wheelchair. And of course, who knows? Everyone is different, so I'm just going to keep pushing on, and just body in motion stays in motion. So I'm just going to try.
Right. So you know what, man? I really appreciate you saying that stuff, because the reality is, from my end. People tell me all the time, maybe it's time that you relax a little bit and you let your body, relax and get your muscles wherever. The truth is, the more that I'm moving, the more that I'm continuing to metal detect, the more that I'm continuing to find history in the ground, the more I'm motivated to be well. And without medication, and I don't take any medication right now, I'll be very honest with you, I don't take any medication. It's $225,000 a year. I have twin babies. I have a 14-year-old daughter. My 14-year-old daughter just got braces. My children need medical care. I take care of that stuff before I take care of myself. The truth is, with metal detecting and no medication, I have been way better than anyone could ever possibly tell me I would be. Just that focus on staying positive, staying mobile, continuing to do what you love, I think is the best way to take care of your disease.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be said about mind over body. Your mind can correct a lot of things that medication can't. Now, it can't do everything, but when you've got a passion for something and you're striving for that, it takes your mind off of it too. You're talking about about your twins and your 14-year-old daughter. Do any of them metal detect with you?
Oh, gosh, my 4-year-old twins absolutely love metal detecting. I wish I could say the same about my 14-year-old daughter, but not in any way, shape, or form. She has no interest whatsoever in metal detecting. My twins, however, who are 4 years old, whenever we drive by an old wall or an old field, they go, "Daddy, treasure, 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 treasure."
You've got them trained well.
You know, right. So my 4-year-old son, and I love talking about this, my 4-year-old son, I brought him to a local park. All places, you know, I take them to a local park where they can play and go down the slides and have fun and whatnot. He says, "Daddy, can we metal detect?" And I said, "Sure," you know, and I got to go find 66 for those guys. And we went out. We were metal detecting, I want to say about 20 minutes into it. My son pulls up a gold bracelet. He's a 4-year-old child. He pulls up a 14-karat gold bracelet as a 4-year-old child. And I couldn't believe it. The kid's like digging the hole. He's absolutely in love with it, and nothing beats that feeling. You're like, oh my God, like something that I absolutely love, my children also love. And now it's just whenever they want, it's, "Daddy, can we metal detect? Daddy, can we metal detect? Daddy, can we metal detect?" And I'll take them wherever they want to go. And they found some pretty amazing stuff for 4-year-old kids.
Yeah. Over the holidays, I'm in the same shape. None of my kids are interested in it at all. But I've got a whole herd of grandkids, and our youngest grandson. Our youngest grandson. We've got one great grandson, but my youngest grandson has really took an interest in metal detecting, and so while we were at the lake, he said, I want to go metal detecting. So we just got in the pontoon and we hit some shorelines, and he actually found a silver Roosevelt dime. It's the only silver I've ever found at the lake where I'm hunting. And I told him, I said, "You don't realize, son, what you have found. You know, that is a silver coin." And a lot of people that watch my YouTube channel, they've never found a silver coin yet. And I said, "Here you are, your first trip." Man, he was taking it around and showing it to all of them. So kudos to you to share that with your children.
Of course. I mean, the truth is that this is a passion for my life. It's not, it's not just some sort of hobby anymore. It's something I'm absolutely obsessed with. And to see my 4-year-old children be able to point out to me the difference between an 1800s wall and a 1700s wall, and they're 4 years old. I mean, they understand now the look of a 1700s wall compared to an 1800s wall, and the flat stone of a 1700s wall. And I'm like, oh my God, Dad really gave them some good information.
Hey, Jeff, if we ever go up there, we need to get those 2 4-year-olds to school us a little bit, don't we?
I think I was thinking that's like us driving down the road. Look at that wall. I bet there's something over there.
Yeah, they've got the bug. They sure do. I tell you what.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now.
Go ahead.
My children know the difference. So if you look at the moss on a 1700s wall compared to an 1800s wall, the shape of the stones and everything, they're 4 years old and they know the difference very, very well.
I don't, and of course we don't have that many stone walls here. They've got a few more in Tennessee, but I don't, and that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely great. Hey, before we get off here tonight, and I do this from time to time, If you could give the best advice that you have for somebody that is new to the hobby, what would that advice be?
Oh, that's super easy. So I've always said this to anybody that talks to me about metal detecting. They say, what am I looking for? What do I have to listen for? The reality is this. If you've got a repeatable signal ever, it doesn't matter if it's a high tone, it doesn't matter if it's a mid-tone or a low tone. If it's repeatable, you better dig it. The reality is that I have found incredible things digging low tones, digging mid-tones, digging high tones. Whatever you're out there looking for, if you are ignoring signals, you're not going to find all the best stuff. Just dig it. What's the difference? If you're out in a field for 12 hours and you come across a mid-tone signal and you say to yourself, you know what, it's just another bullet casing, you're wrong. There's a chance that that bullet casing tone is going to be something absolutely incredible, and you're going to miss out on it if you don't dig it.
Very, very good advice, isn't it, Jeff?
It really is. It sure is. And I had one question. You mentioned earlier talking about the AT Pro that said that you found your first gold coin with the AT Pro. So how many gold coins do you have?
Oh, now I have a total of 3. I have 3 gold coins. The first one ever, though, I found in Woodstock, Connecticut with a kid. His name was Dakota Collins. He's a young guy who was really into metal detecting. He brought me out to Woodstock, Connecticut, and I was in the property. It was like 15 feet of property in the front of this house on the side of this church, and I got over a 53. I want to say a 53 or 54 signal with the AT Pro repeated, and I had already dug a bunch of aluminum. But like I said, dig it all. So I got a repeated signal. I just kept going. I dug it, and it was an 1867 $3 gold coin. That coin was minted 2,550 times, and I just so happened to be lucky enough to find it with an AT Pro. Yeah, absolutely amazing, and I'm not going to lie, there were definitely tears in my eyes when that came up.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, it would be mine too.
Yeah, that y'all talking about what's going to do the old man in. That might do the old man in right there. Find a gold coin. I tell you what.
You know what though? You'll find the gold coin. If you haven't found it yet, you got to dig all those mid tones. I do this thing now. Every Monday, I do a mid-tone Monday, and people don't understand it, but mid-tone Monday is when I go out every Monday and I dig only mid-tones, all the mid-tones that I can possibly dig. And the other day, I dug only mid-tones. I dug up a bale seal. I dug up an old button. I dig up all these amazing things, and it's with signals that people are ignoring because they're only looking for the high-pitched signals.
Yeah. Everything that you've said tonight is good advice. You have been an absolute wonderful guest, ain't you, Jeff?
He sure has. And then, of course, I learned something at every show, and then I've learned something this show. So, I mean, you've been a great guest, and we appreciate you being on.
Yeah, we sure do.
Well, thank you guys so much. I really enjoyed it very much.
And like I said, I've got all of those links in the description on this show. And, Nathan, you put any links that you want to on the RELICS Radio Facebook group page. And best of luck with this Pound of Ground event, October the 5th and 6th at Chazy, New York. And watch out for half redneck Mark Hoover. There ain't no telling what he's going to do when he gets down there. But I'm
looking forward to it.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we close out here?
I just want to say thank you guys so much for having me on the show, and I hope that I was able to give some new detectorists some information in regards to metal detecting. And if any of you are interested in metal detecting and haven't done it before, reach out to us at RhodeIslandRelics.com or our Facebook page, facebook.com/RI Relics.
Okay, good enough. Jeff?
I just want to thank everybody in the chat, and thanks, Denny, for the great call, and God bless everybody, and that's about it.
Hey, Denny, reach out to Mark Hoover, and we're going to get you a Relics Radio cooling towel. And, Nathan, we're going to give you one, too. So that
Thank you so much.
I know it's not hot there right now, but you said the other day it was 90-something degrees. So you need one if it's 90-something degrees. But you've been a great guest, and just hang on the line, and I'll close the show out. And we will talk a little bit after the show. And we appreciate everybody that has joined the show tonight live. And remember, we'll be back here next week. We've got Joe DeMarco next Thursday night. It's going to be another great show. Want to remind you to listen to Beyond Sight and Sound on Sunday and Wednesday at 8 o'clock Eastern with Josh Kimball. Listen to All Metal Mode with Mike Hare and Gypsy Jules on Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. Listen to American Digger Magazine with Butch Holcomb, Jeff Lupert, and myself Monday night at 9 o'clock Eastern. Listen to Hardcore Metal Detecting with Derek Asklar and Craig Talley Thursday and Saturday at 8 o'clock Eastern. And they're also doing some morning shows now, so you'll have to go to Hardcore Metal Detecting and follow them to get notifications of when they're going live with their morning shows. And then finally, XP Team USA has a show every other Friday night right here on Spreaker with Dave Kimball and Grant Hansen. Me and Jeff and Half Redneck Mark Hoover will see you next Thursday night right here on Relics Radio. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Relics Radio. We really do appreciate it. Be sure and join us live every Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern here on Spreaker, or you can catch the archive show at Relics Radio on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and many other podcast outlets. Relics Radio is also syndicated on the Cutting Edge Radio Network and is broadcast around the world. Please take a minute and hit the like button, and be sure and follow us so you'll get notifications of all of our upcoming broadcasts. You can also find us on YouTube at Diggin' with 7 or Tennessee Jeff, or you can check us out on our Relics Radio Facebook group page or Adventures in History on Facebook. If you'd like to get in touch with us, then send an email to relicsradio@outlook.com. We'd love to hear from you. We hope that you'll join us next Thursday night. And until then, get out there and dig some history.